I wonder if the pursuit of happiness is really something different. You know, when our founding fathers talked about happiness, I don't know. I don't think they bought into that more stuff, better stuff, and the right stuff. I don't think they were buying into the perfect relationships and the perfect kids and the perfect health. I don't think that's what they were talking about. Maybe the pursuit of happiness had to do with the good life as it relates to a meaningful life. You know, that's one of the greatest prayers ever written. Show me the way. Show me the way. I've been talking to some of you over the last month or so, or maybe it was before my surgery, and you know, there's a lot of hard stuff going on in people's lives right now. There's a lot of hard stuff, a lot of grief, a lot of loss, a lot of obstacles, a lot of discomfort, a lot of, you know, there's some hard stuff going on. There always is. And sometimes we're more intimate with it, depending where we are in our life and who we know at the time and how things are going. And, you know, one of the greatest prayers that you can use is that prayer that simply says, show me. You know, show me the way. Let me know. And trust from the inside that there's a greater knowledge, there's a greater something that we can rely on beyond that's making us sad, that's making things uncomfortable. You know, I want you to know that. I want to know that. And you know what? This lesson I'm about to give today, the topic I picked for this lesson was back in August. So back in August, I was laying out the top lesson topics through the end of November, knowing that I was going to have this surgery, and so I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have that. That card you have has the little boy on, be happy, isn't it a great card? And I thought, oh, I got to talk about happy today? Like, what in the world? I thought that was going to be a great topic for the day before Thanksgiving, or the Sunday before the Thanksgiving thing, but I got to tell you, I haven't been very happy. I've been struggling with my knee, with my recovery from that. I've been in pain. I've been anything but happy. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to talk about happy. What in the world? And it got me to thinking. And that's always good, by the way, when things that come up in your life like get you to thinking, especially when the thinking is more spiritually based. You know, something that's beyond the outside thing about what I'm going to have for dinner or that I need gas in the car kind of thing, but the spiritual, the kind of thinking, the kind that makes you go a little deeper into yourself, the kind that makes you maybe discover something that's beyond the surface stuff that you're used to scratching around in. So then I thought, well, Paula, you know, you could just change the topic. You know, like, who's going to really know? I mean, they'll have a card that says be happy, and I don't think most people would come up to me afterwards and say, we got a card that says happy, and you didn't talk about that today. I don't know. I don't think that would have happened, or that anybody would have left and say, hey, she changed this topic. What's going on with that? But here's the thing that I thought about that is, you know, if I change the topic of that, I'm going to miss an opportunity. I'm going to miss an opportunity to dive a little deeper into what this is. You know, if we constantly avoid discomfort, then we're not gonna realize the richness that comes from getting through that discomfort. You know, we're not ever gonna know that. We're not gonna know what it's like. We're always gonna put it off to another time. So instead of doing that, I thought, well, okay, let me dive into this. Let me peel off some of this. Let me have some of this understanding. Let me see what baggage I'm carrying. Let me just see what this is about. So that's what I did. And one of the first places, as some of you know, I often start is to look in the dictionary and says, well, what does happy mean anyway? You know, what is that all about? And my go-to dictionary is dictionary.com. I love dictionary.com. It's easy. It's right on my computer desktop right there, right in my bookmarks toolbar. Dictionary.com says delighted, pleased, or glad as over a particular thing, or characterized by or indicative of pleasure, contentment, and joy. And remember, I didn't find this on dictionary.com, but a lot of times, the popular slang about joy is what? Blissed out, blissed out. Yeah. No, that's happy, I'm blissed out. But here's the thing, is those definitions of happiness really revolve around something out here being okay before I can be happy. Right? They're like, well, if everything out here is going well, then I have cause to be joyful. And really what that says is that my happiness depends on that. I'm like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that idea of my happiness depending on exactly what was happening in my life. So, like, are we relegated to being either happy or unhappy, and those are the only two choices? And there's nothing in between? Is that the way it is? Are we born to be happy? Is that what it's about? Are we supposed to be happy no matter what? Those are all things you've heard before. I'm thinking, I don't know. Even in our Declaration of Independence, 1776, the founders of our country talked about happiness this way. You know this. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Unalienable rights are rights that are incapable of being taken away. And the rights that they included in the Declaration of Independence, they said among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness. These are inalienable rights that were included in our own Declaration of Independence. Powerful words and powerful ideas. I wonder what they really meant when they said those words. Because if you look around today, you know what happiness appears to me is more stuff, better stuff, and the right stuff. Right? That's what it's about. It's about perfect relationships, perfect health, the perfect kids, the perfect way of being. That's what brings happiness. And we want it all. And we want it right now. we don't want to wait for it either, do we? I know that's the way exactly I'm feeling about my knee right now. I'm tired of it. It's been almost 5 weeks. Come on already. I'm exhausted. It's painful. I can't do what I want to do when I want to do it. I cry when I exercise. Renee has to deal with me turning over in bed at night, back and forth, in pain, writhing, trying not to take the pain meds. I'll tell you what. I am exactly unhappy. I am exactly unhappy. Because that's what we do. We let our physical conditions, we let our conditions in our life, we let that affect our happiness. And it does. It certainly does. It certainly does. But if that is the extent of how I feel about happiness, then I am relegated to misery. For at least all the times that I'm unhappy. And not only relegated to misery, but to be relegated to suffering as well. And as I thought about that, I thought, oh, hell no, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. I wonder if the pursuit of happiness is really something different. When our founding fathers talked about happiness, I don't know, I don't think they bought into that more stuff, better stuff, and the right stuff. I don't think they were buying into the perfect relationships and the perfect kids and the perfect health. I don't think that's what they were talking about. Maybe the pursuit of happiness had to do with the good life as it relates to a meaningful life. What about if the pursuit of happiness had to relate to a meaningful life? You know what? That relates more to an inalienable right. Our right. Not to have more stuff, but to have a meaningful life. To live in a democracy where we can pursue a meaningful life. Now I thought I was getting somewhere. I'm like, it's not about the stuff, it's about the meaningful piece of it. See, the root of happiness cannot reside in more stuff. The root of happiness cannot reside in having everything working out here okay so that I can be okay. The root of happiness is what I'm coming to understand has to reside in our soul. It has to reside in that deep place in us, in that meaningful place in us, in that soul place that somehow if the soul is satisfied, if the soul can be happy, then somehow we have a chance. We have a chance of knowing what happiness really is, of knowing what a meaningful life is. Because let's get over this. Whoever promised you happiness forever and ever, amen. Nobody ever promised me that. Who is the they anyway? Right? Who is that they? And I think that duality of having to divide our lives between either I'm happy or unhappy, that duality just causes misery. You know, if we go there, if that's all we have to do. What if instead of unhappy or happy, what if it was about this? What if the meaningful life was about being authentic? Of showing up as authentic. For exactly as we are, without apology, without defending ourselves, but to show up authentic. Doesn't that give you a little relief? It gave me a little relief when I thought of that. Like, I don't have to be happy or unhappy. What if I just show up and I'm authentic? I like it. Not pretending, not running, not to try to stuff down, not to put on the happy face. You know, that song's cute, put on a happy face, but really, it's not where I am today. And I know from talking to some of you, it's not where you are. So what if you showed up as authentic? Wouldn't your soul feel satisfied with that? Could your soul feel happy with that? Bringing ourselves to the moment authentically. So really what my definition, the pursuit of happiness simply means the effort and awareness to satisfy the soul. The effort and awareness to satisfy the soul. You know, it takes a little more than just scratching the surface to even realize if we're satisfying the soul or not. But that, my friends, I think is the authentic life. And it's not really about happy or unhappy, it's about authentic. Isn't that really who you want to be? Isn't that really how you would prefer to show up? Isn't that really how you would prefer to be accepted by your friends and by anybody you ran into? Is simply being authentic? Because happiness doesn't look like that kid on that card all the time. I think it's a great picture. I think it's a good illustration of being happy, but the way we look is not always indicative of a deeper happiness. So let me tell you a story. I was at my physical therapist earlier this week, and you know, I've been calling it my story of not being able to bend my knee. I can't bend my knee. Something's wrong. Of course something's wrong. You just had surgery, you know. You got bionic parts in there. It's taking longer than you want. Yeah, something wrong? I don't know. It's just my patience. But anyway, I'm with Allie, and we're working on that. So you're doing well with the strength. Let's work on this mobility. And she did this cupping. Have you ever had cupping done? You know, these cups that are placed on there. In this case, sometimes, usually in more traditional sense, there's heat that then allows the cup to pull the skin away from the underlying tissue to loosen it up, right? To loosen it up. In this case, she had a little pump thing, okay? So she smeared this nice butter oil on me, and she put the cup there, and I didn't watch it because I'm not one of those who likes to watch stuff like needles and arms and things, but the essence was there, right? And she's working these cups and moving it in this area and pulling it away. It's not comfortable, by the way. And I would tell you, if I didn't mention it already, most spiritual work is not comfortable. Most spiritual work is not comfortable. This was not comfortable either, but most spiritual work, because we're diving below the surface, is not comfortable. This wasn't either. But she was working it, and she said, "Do you think it's making a difference?" And I said, "You know what? I'm actually happy because I think it is making a difference." And I was like this. "Yeah, I'm actually happy because I think it is making a difference." She said, "You don't look very happy." And I wasn't happy, but I was thinking, well, maybe my soul was happy. Maybe my soul was happy because there was someone who cared about me, who was doing everything they could to try to help me physically, and I was recognizing that. I didn't look happy. But I think I was happy and my soul was happy because it was going to help me. And I had been praying. My prayer was, "Help me. Please help me." And I felt like that prayer was being answered. There's another thing I've noticed about happiness. These are kind of random thoughts about happiness maybe, but is that I think happiness is always looking for us. Have you noticed that? Like, I think happiness is always trying to make an appearance. It's always trying to find its way around us, even in the darkest time. I think happiness is trying to show up. It's trying to get your attention. It's trying to give you like that brief moment of brevity or levity. It's trying to say, hey, I'm still here. I'm still here. You know, the thing that's bringing me that kind of thing lately, and maybe you've seen how many people are on Facebook, most of you probably, you know, the blonde and the cat. Enough of you are chuckling about it. The blonde who's pointing and saying one thing and the cat sitting in front of the salad bowl in the other frame. Do enough of you know that? Who knows what I'm talking about? Oh, not enough of you. I thought everybody would know that. So there's this little meme going around, and there's this blonde person going, aluminum foil! And the cat's sitting all zen in front of a dinner plate of salad saying, tenfold. And if you're from the South, you know that, Tenfull. This is falling flat. But there's this, every time I see it, I chuckle. Every time I see it, the lines come out of my forehead. Every time I see it, I don't even have to read what it says. I just look at it, and it brings me this second of joy before I'm back to the pain of my knee. I'm telling you, in that moment, I feel like happiness is looking for me. It's found me in this little Facebook meme, of all places, of this cat. And I love cats. You know, it's just got this snicker look on there. Renee just showed me one, the blonde saying, what was it, Renee? Come on.
The Christ who strengthens me.
The Christ who strengthens you is within you. And the cat says, oh, you don't even go to church when it rains. You know, stuff like that. It's like, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And for that moment, for that single breath in time, happiness found me. You can say, you really think God's in that little meme? I don't know if God's in that little meme. What I'm saying is, I forgot my pain at that moment. My brow unfurled. It made a difference. And it reminds me of this poem, this portion of poem that I'm going to read you from Hafiz. And it's called Several Times Last Week. And it goes like this. Ever since happiness heard your name, it has been running through the streets trying to find you. And several times in the last week, God himself has come to my door, so sweetly asking for your address, wanting the beautiful warmth of your heart's fire. And I think that's God. That's Holy Spirit. That's this universal love. That's this divine that I talk about. That's whatever your name is for that, I think is always trying to find us. And sometimes we're far away. And it seems like it'll never happen. And it's sad. And it's painful. And it hurts. And we're grieving. And we don't understand. And we're upset. But I believe, after having to talk about happiness today, that it is that God in us is trying to find us. He's trying to remind us
He's coming for all
of the goodness we are, the goodness we already are. Just a reminder, just the little things. All the time, in your deepest tragedy, in your deepest pain, in your darkest hour. If you study, if you believe, if you evolve on your own spiritual path, if you give yourself this foundation, you know, maybe you could believe that too. Maybe you could believe that too. Ever since happiness heard your name, it's been running through the streets trying to find you. And when you hear it, when you see it, when your brow unfurls, when you take that breath, recognize it, accept it, let it lift you, let it hold you, let it love you. So let's take those ideas into meditation this afternoon. And let's remember, if you want to come up and sit on a cushion, you're more than welcome. Someday I'll be down there, Kim. I can bend this knee. And let's just believe. Why don't we just decide to believe for these short minutes together that no matter where we find ourselves, no matter the difficulty, no matter the stuck place, the frustration, the sadness, the confusion, the discomfort, let's believe for these few minutes as we listen to these notes and these sounds, let's to believe together that happiness really is trying to find us and is as close as our very breath. slow, no matter how fast, no matter how wobbly. If you trip and fall, it still counts. Even if you don't get up for a while, it counts. Every step counts, especially the ones you take in bare feet, hungry skin, against full earth, tapped out against the ground. Steps are prayers we speak as we cross gravel, fields, mountains, sands, red clay and water. Grace-filled, stumbling, crooked, dance-like, barely holding on, baby steps. Even if you get turned around, it counts.